Thank you, Amy, and hello again, everyone. Good evening. Thanks for joining tonight's travel session. Tonight's session is for the World Affairs Council of Houston's trip to three Middle Eastern countries. That will be Qatar, Oman, and Kuwait. So in a short while, I will share my screen with you and start my presentation. The brochure for this trip is just, exactly a year away, maybe just 11 months from now, right? In November of 2023. Brochure is not ready yet. Tomorrow or the next day, you will be able to find the brochure and download it from World Affairs Council's website on travel pages. And so you can, just see the details, go over them at your own convenience.
Do you have the dates, Ilias?
Yes, I will just go over that in a short while. Let me share my screen, and you will also see that on the screen. And let me start the presentation. Qatar, Oman, Kuwait, Gulf Adventure, November 3rd to 14th. It's a 12-day, 10-night trip to these three countries. The structure we see on the cover, this is the Museum of Islamic Arts in Doha. Just, we'll go over that in a short while and see a few, pictures related to that. So this trip, 12-day, 10-night trip, covers these three countries. The suggested flights will be on Qatar Airways. That is the most convenient way to fly from Houston directly to Doha. There our trip will start, and coming back also via Doha. And in between there will be two connecting flights by local airlines. Now, as we go forward, here is a map of the region, just, the greater Middle East. We see here the Arabian Peninsula, northwest to southeast, and the countries, Qatar here, Oman, the biggest one, and Kuwait, the little one here. And we always tend to, maybe not always, just you follow the news and know about history. But again, we most of the time tend to put all the Middle Eastern countries in one basket. And this trip is mostly designed to show the differences, to show how they converge, how they diverge. Just we tend to say, well, they are all, Arabic countries, starting from Syria, Iraq, Jordan just 2 days ago, but we were talking about that, and Saudi Arabia, if you have already been there, Yemen, Oman, just they are most of the time, and Egypt here, right? Most of the time they are in the news with positive and negative sides. They get along sometimes, that is quite rare, but most of the time they have their own problems among each other. So it is good, especially on this trip, to see how these countries, especially the three of them here, Qatar and Oman to the south, east, and Kuwait to the north of the Gulf, what to call the Gulf on the map. This is Google Maps, right? Just Persian Gulf. That is always a problem over there. Just it is Arabian Gulf. If you just go to Qatar and just call the Gulf, Persian Gulf, well, you won't get you'll get a bad luck, that response from the other side. So, our destinations, Qatar here, this medium-sized peninsula protruding from to the east side of Arabian Peninsula, and Oman, but mainly we will concentrate in the southeastern part or eastern part of the country, and then Kuwait. Now, as we close up a bit here, these three countries, well, just Dubai, Abu Dhabi, the Emirates, as they are called, are more popular than the other ones, especially when compared to Oman, and Bahrain being a very little one, right? And the connecting point, just we need to always remember while talking about these countries and visiting them, one thing they have in common is they have maritime borders, sea borders with Iran. On the other side of the Gulf, it is Iran with all its, big size and 80 million people, 88 million people, big population. It is there. So that is one of the determining factors of the economies, of the policies, of the local politics, and as I said, the economies of these three countries. So the presence of Iran and also the population is a big factor, one common factor, apart from being, all three Arab and Islamic countries, one determining factor in their today and in their history. Now, our trip will start from Qatar. We will fly into Doha, the capital of Qatar. And from there, after our days in Qatar, we will fly to the capital of Oman, Muscat. And we will have our days. And then we will fly up north to Kuwait. And from Kuwait, visiting Kuwait City, the capital. From Kuwait, we will fly back. Although the arrow, just flies directly out of Kuwait, most probably we'll have to fly back to Doha and then, just with a connecting flight via Doha, fly back to Houston. So this is Qatar, the small peninsula protruding out of the big Arabian Peninsula. It has a population of about 2.8 million, 60% of which is expats. So you go to Doha, you go to Qatar, just wherever we interact with people, of course, just go to museums and buy stuff, sites and everything. The chances that we will interact with Qataris is extremely low. The people working everywhere, the interface with tourists, with people, they are all expats from Egypt, from Syria, from Sri Lanka, from India. So we are more likely to meet with, one of those 60% expats than the, local native Qataris. It's a small country, about 4,500 square miles, which roughly corresponds to Connecticut, state of Connecticut here. And so it was the Doha here. Let's see an aerial view of the city, high rises. Well, it has a couple of course, different parts. And these high rises, mostly, these were erected in the last, 10, 15 years. And there is another, just portion surrounding the city. Let's see. Again, here you see this part of the city with the high rises, mostly various headquarters of various companies plus hotels, and this Sheraton Hotel. Most probably we're going to stay here. It's a very nice hotel here, and this photo must have been taken sometime quite some time ago. That this vacant land is not vacant anymore, and the old part of the city is in this area. So we are going to visit all actually. Now, as we go forward, I was saying, this is one of the new residential areas. This is the Pearl. Now, if you know Dubai came up with the palm, the artificial island in the shape of palm, just high-end residential areas that they marketed to high-income people from almost any country. So being in competition with Dubai and the Emirates, Qatar came up with the Pearl, and just they constructed this artificial kind of circular islands and erected all those, high rises, the residential area. There's another one in the back, and there's another one to the right, to the left. So there are, a bunch of them. So possibly we can, just visit this area and get some information about the idea behind it and the development. But the main thing is, again, just we need to remember that these little, sheikdoms, emirates, they are just competing kind of, sometimes against each other, sometimes they collaborate. Now, Doha, it's the Qatar in general, but Doha in particular is history. It was a pearl fishing, pearl hunting base, small village. And from there, especially in 1930s, when the Japanese came up with cultured pearls, Mikimoto artificially cultured pearls. Suddenly the prices of pearl just went down, and they were just out in the open, couldn't market the real pearls that they were fishing in the Gulf. But fortunately, in 1940, oil was found and the gas was found, and that was the beginning of today's Qatar. The economy depends on oil mostly, and the Qataris, the citizens, they don't have to pay any income taxes, and they just get some part of the oil revenue depending on their social status and their connections. So that is the main source of income for the locals. Excuse me. Now, this is the old part. This is the old Doha, and just whatever remains, a few souks and a number of buildings, they renovated very beautifully, and the restaurants and the cafes and a few museums that we are going to visit, especially in nighttime, of course. Just we have to remember November, this is a good time to go. It won't be that hot, but even then, just at noon, it is a siesta time. People are not out. Just people are taking easy. After 4 p.m., generally, just life becomes more lively. People come out, and restaurants become more and more livelier. This is another view from the old town. In the back, we see one of the historic minarets of one of the historic mosques that we're going to talk about when we visit the place. And the souk, souk waqf is the specific name of the souk, with its alleyways and exotic shops. It's really very interesting, especially just in the evening when people are around. It's possible to see various herbs and food and animals. There's an animal market part of it, which is really very interesting. Especially the bird market is interesting. And this is another view from the souk. Now, souk is in general, it is a market, right? The word for market in Arabic. So in every city, there's a souk or more of them for different purposes. There is a gold souk, there is a silver souk, there is a souk for fabrics. And what we see here is the falcon souk. So this is the market for falcons. Now, falcons are very important in Qataris' lives. Well, in general, in various parts in Arabic world, in Kuwait too, but especially in Qatar, it's a big thing. It's a big hobby for the Qataris, who, the inhabitants, the native Qatari citizens, right? They don't have to work, they have the money, and what are they going to do? Just traditionally, they used they trained falcons for hunting, and that tradition continues. There is a medium-sized this souk, the bazaar for falcons, and if you just see the prices over there, that's really unbelievable. Depending on their training, their capabilities, their prices are go up to thousands. And there is now, where do these falcons come from? I need to just mention that too. One of the main sources of the falcons is Kazakhstan, Central Asia. So in Kazakhstan, just recently, a group of ours just came back from Central Asia, including Kazakhstan, and they had in Kazakhstan they visited a falcon demonstration center. So it's a big thing over there too: falcon hunting and eagle hunting. So from there. Since just the falcon species, the native falcon species in this area, it's already gone. They import falcons from Kazakhstan, and recently it has been a big issue of controversy with the environmental groups, with the animal rights groups, just bringing all those falcons, capturing them in Kazakhstan and selling them to Qataris. But in any case, that is continuing. So the Falcon Soup we are going to visit, and a few of the smaller museums. One, this is Mushayrab Museum. This is a series of historic houses that were renovated and turned into a local museum that gives the history of oil exploration, how the oil was, found in 1940s, and then how it was developed, and also a number of different rooms, sections that give information about the local culture and local, kind of ethnographical museum of the region. So this Mushayrab Museum, again, located in the Old Town, another view from the Mushayrab Museum. Now, this is the structure in the cover I mentioned, the Museum of Islamic Arts. This is actually, this is, really, really one of the highlights of the country. They are proud of this museum, and first of all, architecturally, it is very nice, beautiful. It was constructed in 2008 by a Chinese-American architect, I.M. Pei. He is the designer, and he died in 2019, aged 102. And, he is known for a bunch of great works, one of which is this, and also the additional work for the MoMA, Museum of Modern Art in New York, for example, the additional building over there. And there is Miho Museum in Kyoto, outside Kyoto in Japan, so a number of well-known buildings, his works. And he designed and built this in his 90s. He was already 90 years old, and he visited a number of Islamic countries to work on the Islamic architectural styles, and came up with this design, which kind of represents the initial 7th, 8th centuries Islamic mosques, Islamic architecture of those times. The museum today has exhibits ranging from 7th century all the way to 19th century, all various Islamic artifacts from different parts of Islamic world. It is a really very nice museum that we are going to visit. Now, another museum here, this is brand new, opened in 2019. Unfortunately, just before the pandemic. So, it was, opened with a big bang, but, it couldn't follow up because of the all the travel restrictions and everything. So 2019, I said, brand new, designed by a French architect, Jean Nouvel, and the architectural style, the design. This was inspired by the desert rose crystal that is commonly found in the Qatari deserts. So architecturally, it is very interesting, of course. And inside here, a close-up picture photo, and from inside, let's see here. This is another view, and another view from one of the exhibits. Now, we will visit the museum. Architecturally, as I said, it is very nice, beautiful, but just exhibits. Most of the exhibits will be, we will not be interested in them, for they are too general, just natural history of the world and that kind of stuff, which we don't need to cover. But a number of sections that are specific for Qatar and for Doha, we are going to give precedence to those exhibits, those sections, and we are going to visit this national museum. Another interesting, just when you have the money, you have uh, the means to have all these beautiful architectural uh, examples, constructed. So, in that sense, Doha is architecturally really a very interesting, very nice city. Another interesting, architecturally interesting building is the National Library. So you'll also visit the National Library and get information about their cataloging system and their, they have rare manuscripts. We can see a number of them, but also they have all these, very modern conveyor system that, you order a book and the book comes through the conveyor to, delivered to you. And then when you just bring it back, you just drop it in a hole, and the conveyor takes it back to where it's supposed to go. So a really very interesting building. Now, another area, this is the education city. Now, Qatar in general. We mentioned, the oil revenue and how its economy is determined by that. Now, of course, just like the Emirates, like Saudi Arabia now, they already know that there's an end to it. Oil is not infinite. So they're trying to diversify, trying to become a financial hub on the one end. On the other hand, they are trying to become an educational hub. So they started to build this education city a little bit outside Doha. In the background, you'll see the high rises there. That is where the Doha city is. And they started to construct this educational city in 1997. And with the research facilities, with labs and campuses, there are 8 international universities that have their small overseas campuses here. They include Texas A&M, for example. They have a campus there. Carnegie Mellon, Weill Cornell, Georgetown, Northwestern, and a bunch of others. They all have their campuses there, and we may find an opportunity to visit and get some information about the education city and the facilities. And they are trying to form an attraction center for especially local Arabic countries. And most of the students who are here, it's difficult to come and to be admitted to the campuses, the American university campuses here in the States. So instead, they have these satellite campuses located there. So especially Arab students and students from India, from surrounding countries, they find the opportunity to have education in an American university located in Qatar. So that is the attraction. That is what they are trying to achieve in this education city. Now, the tour being a tour of World Affairs Council, right? We try to incorporate a number of meetings, and this is the headquarters of Al Jazeera, the broadcasting company, right? So we were there in 2019, and this is our group. That is me on the right-hand side. So just before we entered, in the background, that is the headquarters, and World Affairs Council managed to arrange a meeting to visit the studios and to have meetings with the managers and a number of the journalists. So that was really very interesting. Al Jazeera, as you know, it was established in 1996, funding from the Emir of Doha, Emir of Qatar, and it is known for its kind of controversial news style in Arabic world. And in 2017, actually, it kind of caused a crisis between, if you remember, between Qatar and Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Kuwait, all these countries against Qatar, and they started a what is that? a blockade against Qatar in 2017, and I was there in 2018. The blockade ended in 2021, actually, and it was mostly because of the controversial broadcasting of Al Jazeera, plus the allegations that Qatari government was funding the uh, Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt, and just those were the main um, things. At the end, it ended. Now, at the time when we were there, it's another meeting, for example, they were preparing for the World Cup, which is going on right now, right over
Yeah.
there. So the construction of the stadiums and all the facilities were going on, and we visited the headquarters of the World Cup over there and got information about all the stadiums and facilities and everything. So for this trip, also in November, most probably we will be able to, arrange a number of meetings, not necessarily with the same, subjects and same people, but there will be certain opportunities to, arrange meetings with or for. So this is our days in Qatar, and from Qatar we fly to Muscat, the capital of Oman, and start our visit with the capital. Now, Oman, as far as size is concerned, it is the biggest among the three. It's about 120,000 square miles, which is more or less the size of New Mexico, or a little bit less than, a little bit, about 45% of Texas. And it has a population of 4.5 million people. Now, this is the country with the least expat population out of 4.5 million. Only 40% of the population are expats, and the rest, just 60%, is the native Omani population. Now, we will notice that now in Qatar and in Kuwait, as I mentioned a short while ago. Just it is very difficult to see and to interact with the native Qataris or Kuwaitis, because they don't work. They are not, but Oman is not like that. First of all, economically, they are not as well off as the other two. So Omanis need to work. So they are everywhere. They'll be our guides, they'll be our drivers in the stores. So they are more around. It is, available. So we will have more chances to interact with the local people here in Oman. And the area we are going to cover from Muscat down southeast along the coastline to a town called Sur here, and then going inwards to into the desert, spending one night there, and then up north to the town of Nizwa, and then back to Muscat. So we will have kind of a, just circle here in this area. Now, this is in Muscat. This is the Royal Palace. It has a very interesting architecture, very interesting, blue and gold mixture color. This is on the other side of the palace is the Gulf, the sea, just overlooking sea on one side. The bay, actually, just we will see in a short while. And this is a big square, and on the main road on the other side is the National Museum. We are going to see that too. The Royal Palace, well, of course, Royal Palace. This was more of it's residential, but mostly the previous sultan. This is, I have to mention that Oman is an absolute monarchy, whereas the other two are more constitutional monarchies, and they have kind of a constitution, and they have kind of a what is that? A council of ministers and a cabinet, most of whom are family members, actually. But still, here it is just absolute monarchy. And the previous Sultan Qaboos, he took power from his father in 1970, and he was the Sultan until his death of cancer in 2020. He didn't have any children, so he left the throne to one of his cousins. So Haytham bin Tariq, today's Sultan, he is the Sultan. He is in power now. But this was more of a Sultan Qaboos's ceremonial, palace. And here a close-up of the royal palace. And so his residential palace was in a different place, just out of view. So we will be in this area, and here, as I mentioned, the palace on the right-hand side overlooking the harbor and the Gulf, and the white structures. Some of them are residences of the higher-ups of the military and people from his family. And the castle here, this is a Portuguese fort from 16th century. Now, the history of the area, that is from 16th century, the recent, I should say, history of all this area. From 16th century onward, there was the Ottoman Empire, and then came the Portuguese and French and the British, Dutch in between a little bit, and the British from the end of 18th, beginning of 19th century onwards. And then came independence in different degrees. So Oman, for example, got its independence from Britain, from British protectorate in 1970. So this, going back to this fortress, Portuguese fortress from the 1550s to 1580s. Once Vasco da Gama, just sailed around the Cape of Hope, Good Hope, around Africa in 1497, 98, and came here. That was the beginning of the Portuguese presence in the area, of course. So there are a bunch of Portuguese castles that we're going to see partly in and around Muscat. Now, this is also in the same area, Beit al-Ba. This is one of the old fortresses that were renovated to become and turned into a museum of ethnography. So we will visit the museum and see various ethnographic materials from 18th and 19th centuries. And the inevitable souk, the market, right? So this is the main Mutra souk, along the Corniche. Now, Corniche, almost every Arab country that faces the sea has a Corniche. That is the main avenue, overlooking the sea. That is the main area that locals go out for a promenade, in the evening. So that is the main area that people socialize. So the souk is also over there, Mutra souk, very lively, very colorful, interesting. So we will have an opportunity to spend some time there, just surrounded by a number of cafes. And what is popular over there as drink is juices, fruit juices, just really delicious fruit juices everywhere. Now, speaking of drinks, let me also mention this. Alcoholic drinks, in principle, they are forbidden, right? In Islam, it's forbidden. In a bunch of Arabic countries, it's forbidden for sure. Now, in Qatar, well, since they are trying to open up to tourism, in certain touristic hotels, they have bars, and it's possible to have alcoholic drinks there. In Oman, it is BYOB. That is, bring your own booze, bring your own bottle. So just crossing the border, in the duty-free, every tourist, every visitor has the permission to bring 2 bottles of wine. So you can bring in 2 bottles of wine, and during your stay there in the hotel, not at the restaurant though, in some places they allow that, but still you can drink your own wine. So having talked about the drinks, other places, interesting places in Muscat, the Opera House, Royal Opera House. That is a very, very interesting building. It was the previous Sultan Qaboos, He was an opera fanatic. He loved opera, so he ordered the building of this opera house in 2001. It took 10 years, the construction. It was opened in 2011, and it is active. It has, um, opera performances from various European opera companies, from Italy, from France, from Britain. Just really fantastic. And we will go in and visit the place. And if during our visit there is a performance, just it may be possible to purchase tickets in advance, that we're going to see as the time gets close. But it is a very interesting, beautiful, beautiful building, wood carving inside, just very nice, beautifully designed. The capacity is about 1,100 people, not that big. So we will have our full day in Muscat, visiting all these places, and then we will have our 4x4s driving south along this coastal line and to the town of Sur. On the way, one of the interesting natural formations that we're going to visit is this Bima. It's called a sinkhole, a limestone crater with blue-green water at the bottom. So the area is mostly, the geological formation is limestone. So with the underground water, it is, there's erosion, and occasionally there are these sinkholes, just they sink and open up these big craters. So this is one of the best ones. People just come here to swim. If you want to, you can. It is really a very good site. Now, this is our endpoint. This is really beautiful. The Gulf on the one hand side. This is one of the historic, the oldest mosques in the region. This Sur, the town is on the other side, actually, just behind us, this the opposite direction. It is a fishing town, and also it is well known for its boat construction that we're going to see. And we will have a very nice, delicious seafood lunch on the coast. This is just, facing that mosque and facing the sea. And our main dish, what is it? It is, of course, fish from that sea. That is the most valued fish in this area is, in Arabic, it's called hamur. It is a local variety of grouper. And it's really, just medium to big size fish cut into slices and fried or grilled. It is delicious. So this is what we are tasting here. And I mentioned, boat making. Now, these wooden boats are called doughs. And this is a dough factory, or dough, factory, I should say. They construct these wooden boats. They are for fishing, but mostly they are for trades. Now, these boats have been used for hundreds of years for trade between India, between Ceylon, that is Sri Lanka today, and Yemen. And well, I'm sure just all this that now it's popularized, Arabian Nights, right? The Captain Simbad adventures. Just Disney made what is that? An animation movie of it. But if you read the book, all those merchants, Arabic merchants and seamen, they used these doughs to go to carry, all the goods from India, from Far East to Arabian Peninsula, and from Yemen, Red Sea, up to north to where? Egypt, and from there, of course, by land to the Mediterranean side, and then just distributed over there. But these doughs were and still are very important for local merchants and fishermen. So we will see how they're constructed here. And at the end of our stay in Oman, we will also have a short cruise on one of those doughs. So That is really interesting and nice.
Okay.
So our day will end up in Wahiba Sands, in just from shore of the coastal town. We will drive inland into the desert. So this is, more or less how it looks. Wahiba Sands, the desert region, and this is named for the tribe that occupied this region, Bani Wahiba tribe. It's an area of about 4,800 square miles. Now, of course, there are Bedouins, and there have been Bedouins for centuries in the area. So we'll have 4x4s and just drive into the desert, and we will have dune bashing, and
Right.
we will stay. This is our group again on one of the dunes, and here you see this is this one, or maybe just another one. We will stay in a desert camp. This is, these are all deluxe camps with all private facilities, just beautiful, beautiful location. And you see these 4x4s just at the end of their dune bashing, they are coming back to the camp, and just for resting, and then for dinner. Of course, there's dune bashing, and there are camels and camel ride, if you want that. So it's going to be a very nice, very interesting stay. And we will leave this the desert the next day, and driving up north towards Muscat. But on the way, well, we'll visit one of the oases here, Wadi Bani Khalid oasis. Now, oases have always been, of course, very important, surrounded by the desert, right? Because you're looking for where the water is, where the green stuff is. So oases have always been the places of congregation for Bedouins, for local tribes, and the palm trees we see here, these are date palms, and at certain times of the year, they would come and they would just harvest the dates, one of the main food items in the region. And of course, we'll also taste various kinds of dates. So those of you who have been to Saudi Arabia, you already know, just how it is. And we will end up in a town called Nizwa, kind of. The town itself is in the valley, but we will climb up the mountains and stay in a mountain resort with beautiful, beautiful views, really extremely nice. Then the next day, we will come down into the valley to the town of Nizwa. It's going to be Friday morning. We arranged the itinerary so that we are there on a Friday morning when there is the livestock market. So we'll visit the livestock market. We see here goat. There isn't so much of a sheep, but mostly goat, and of course cattle. You see, so there is the auction in the morning, cattle auction, and you see all the locals here, and it is really extremely lively, and just the local farmers, they bring their livestock and buy and sell. So it is really extremely interesting to witness all this, economic activity going on. So going back as a reminder, you see, Oman, the economy of Oman also depends on oil and gas. 82% of their exports is oil. But again, it doesn't trickle down, and it's not that much in the first place, and it doesn't trickle down to the people that much because the amount is not that much as it is in Qatar and Kuwait. So where Qatari and Kuwaiti people, they have all this abundance of oil and gas, so the natives, the citizens, they don't have to work. They are just, given a part of the oil income. Omanis are not like that. This is what I mentioned just when I said that Omanis, we see them around because they have to work. They are farmers. They are, drivers and working in the hotels and everything. So this is one of the main economic activities in the region. And another, of course, local pottery now surrounding this area, this local livestock auction place, or local pottery places and local markets. Now, the most important place that we are going to visit in Nizwa, apart from the livestock market, is the fort, the 17th century fort of Nizwa. It's really a big fort built in 1650s. And now the interesting thing with in the history of Oman is the coastal area. It is just from Muscat. As you drive inland, half an hour, just there are the Najjar Mountains. The mountains just go up, just immediately, just surrounding the coastline. So this is up in the mountain area. And the coastline and the mountainous area, they had in history at times, they were governed by different tribes and different people. So the mountainous area, that was more conservative. And there was this Yoruba imams. This castle was the main castle of the Yoruba imams governing the mountains part of the area, whereas the coastal part, because of the trade and because of their exposure to all the merchants from different parts of the world, they were more open, they were more liberal in a sense. And that was the story, for example, in Jeddah in Saudi Arabia, right? Just being open because of the merchants and because of the trade. So we will visit this Nizwa fort, and occasionally they have these local music and dance demonstrations. They are in their traditional garbs with the swords, and just we can most probably see them in action, with their music and dancing and chanting. So we will visit this fort from mid 17th century. And close by, there is this Misfa village, a historic, very nice village, again, up in the mountains, very interesting with its lush vegetation and its irrigation channels. They have this, since it's located in the mountains, they have this terraced agriculture system, and they have their unique system of irrigation to just bring water to their fields. So we will visit the village, and again here we see the all the green environment, and this is our group over there with the local people and children. So we will get information about this irrigation system and how locals live and what the agriculture looks like over there. And we will end up back in Muscat. And our visit for the next day will be the Grand Mosque, which was constructed in 2001, Muscat Grand Mosque. This is a beautiful, modern, somewhat mosque, huge. We'll go in and see all the ornaments and get information about, mosques in general, and just specific information about how this was constructed. And the National Museum. This is across from the big square where the, royal palace was. So just if you look straight from this museum, the other way to the left, there is the royal palace. So the National Museum, it is also a very nice museum, especially its maritime heritage, the artifacts from the maritime history of Oman and this region. The exhibits are really very interesting. And we have also some more time to visit one more oasis, Nahl Oasis, and another fortress, a reconstructed fortress from 17th century. Actually, the fortress goes back all the way to what 8th, 9th centuries, but it was of course destroyed and rebuilt a bunch of times. So the last version is from 17th century. So we will visit also this oasis and the big fortress and learn more about the history of the region, and come back to the Muscat Harbor for our Doe cruise. So we already saw how they were built and what they were for. We learned about that. Now we can use it as a pleasure boat. And here we are on the Doe, and we will have an hour cruise, cruising in the Gulf, and seeing all those, the historic part of the city, and the mountains, and really it has a very beautiful view. So that will be the end of our trip in Oman. And now we have the third part. We will fly from Oman to Kuwait City. Now, Kuwait is well, up north, as we see, to the south of it. The south is Saudi Arabia. To the north is Iraq. Iraq has the Basra here, and the Iraq's only access to the Gulf, Arabian or Persian Gulf, whatever you want to call it, is here in this region. So this is strategically extremely important. And on the other side is Iran. So this is where Iran and Iraq and Kuwait come together. This is the area where oil is mainly. To the north of Kuwait, here are all the oil wells.
Iraq.
Right. Iraq is, this is the border here. This line here is the border, and Basra is the main Iraqi city in the region, and Abadan is already in Iran. So this is the border with Iran. Yeah. And so Kuwait oil fields are up north here, and Iraqi fields are just on the other side of the border. And of course, we remember 1990s. We will see, just a few photos in a short while. We will be in Kuwait City during our stay in the capital. So Kuwait, it has a population of 4.5 million people. So just Oman had 4.5 million in that, just big area, about 40% of Texas, right? And Kuwait has the same population, 4.5 million people, in about 6,900 square miles, which is more or less like New Jersey. I mean, the size of New Jersey. So it's, population density is high. Again, out of 4.5 million, about 60% are expats, and the country is ruled by Al Sabah family, and it's an oil-rich country. Just we mentioned that, but its economy has its own, specific differences which are really important. I'll mention that in a short while. Now, this is a view of the Kuwait city, high rises and towers, as there has to be, as all the others have. So we will be in this area basically, and the old harbor. Now there's the old part of the city, which is mostly renovated. On the right hand side, you see these. They are called bad gears, the old historic traditional style of the traditional architectural style of the region. Mostly, actually, the origin of this is in Iran. It's more Persian style, and they are for the wind. They're kind of air conditioner of the past. They are towers, and the wind goes in and goes down the chimney into the house and just circulates the air, especially in summer. that is the main, or it was, in the past, of course, historically, the main air circulation way to cool the houses. So this is the old part, and now turned the old harbor, partly turned into a marina. And this was what it looked like in 1961. This is not 19th century, 18th century. This is 1961. So the development has been extremely rapid with the oil money. And the oil fields, of course, oil fields to the north. And just Kuwait was in the news at the beginning of 1990s, right? Because of the Iraqi invasion here, just burning all the oil fields over there. Even it was possible to see the, all that fire from the space, as you see the black smoke of the oil fields burning. So that was the time that Kuwaiti Al Sabah family, they had to, of course, that was 1991, right, which led to the first Gulf War at the time. And the Al Sabah family fled to Saudi Arabia. Now, that is an interesting, historically interesting thing, because in at the end of 19th century, beginning of 20th century, when Saudi family was trying to bring together the tribes of the Arabian Peninsula and trying to form today's Saudi Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, at some point they were not in a, the Saudi family was losing a few battles and they had to escape to Kuwait. And they were hosted by the Al Sabah family over there, and they were given refuge. So in 1991, this was the time to return the favor. So when Al Sabah family had to leave Kuwait with the Iraqi invasion, with the invasion of Saddam, they took refuge in Saudi Arabia. They formed a provisional government in Al Taif, to the south of Mecca, to the south of Medina, Jeddah. And they were helped by the Al Saud family to return the favor in 19th century, or that they were given to their grandfathers or their grandfather. So that's an interesting part of history. Now, we will spend one day in Kuwait City. This is one of the places that we are going to visit, Kuwait Towers, constructed in 1979, one of the first towers in the region, one of the first high structures in the region. Nowadays, they are in all of the Emirates. The tallest one is 583 feet high, and the second one is 478 feet high. Now, the first one, it has a revolving, observatory, a restaurant on top and everything. The second one is a water tower. So it is just, to distribute water to the city. And the Grand Mosque, of course, which was built in 1986. It has a capacity of 11,000 people. Here, it's all, gilded, it's gold gilded. Very, just intricate ornamentation. So we are going to visit the Grand Mosque and the Museum of Modern Art. Now, all places, of course, just people most of the time tend to think, what is it doing here? Modern Art Museum in Kuwait City. Now, interestingly, I need to say that for Islam, modern art creates less of a problem than traditional art. Now, traditionally in Islam, depicting human form is kind of problematic. In the past, most of the time, it was forbidden. All the nudes and depicting, human form in pictures or in sculptures, that was problematic. So modern art is not like that. Abstract art is totally welcome because it doesn't have any human, resemblance, any human figures or anything. So most of the local artists, they take refuge in non-figurative art. So we are going to see examples of art from local Kuwaiti artists or various Arab artists of the region visiting the Museum of Modern Art. And of course, the inevitable fish market, just with the Gulf, all the different kinds of fish and seafood. It is one of the main attraction points with the fresh seafood. We are going to visit the fish market. And again, just ubiquitous souk everywhere. This is Souk Mubarakia. We are going to visit the local souk of Kuwait City, and that will be our day in Kuwait. And from Kuwait, we will fly back home via Doha. That will be the end of our 12-day, 10-night trip to the region. Now, let me stop sharing my screen and so here we are. So it is going to be a very interesting trip, and that will give us the opportunity to visit 3 countries in one go, plus, of course, the insight, the background, how these 3 countries differ, what are their, what their commonalities, common points are, and what, how their economies differ. Just we will learn about these countries in depth. If you have any questions, now's the time. Yes, Sally.
Ilyas, are we going to see any of the oil and gas in Qatar or Kuwait?
No, we won't. Those are, really restricted areas, and just they won't allow us to, go there.
And the dress, is it like
that is, just whatever regular Western clothes.
So many expats, okay.
Exactly. Just they are all open.
And visas?
Visas, very easy. For Doha, it is on arrival about $20, $25 or something. And for Kuwait, similar. For Oman, it's online, and we need to get the visa about 1 month before the departure, because its validity is very short. But it is straightforward. They have their website. You go there, enter your information, and in a couple of days they get back with the visa.
Okay. Do you have any questions?
How much walking is involved?
How much walking is involved? Well, let me think. In Qatar, we'll be in Doha, in the city, every day, let me say about 2 miles. Now it is, museum walking, that is, and city walking, that is in Doha, 2 to 3 miles every day. In Oman, in Muscat, it is again, museum, just straight, 2 to 3 miles. Outside Muscat, it is mostly driving. Only in that historic village, there are, ups and downs, climbing up and down, because of that village is in the mountains. So we'll be just climbing up and down stairs. And of course, fortresses, again, there's some climbing up and down. So that is that. In Kuwait, that is also just nothing, a couple of miles.
And
so the most strenuous part is the fortresses in Oman.
So I take it we're not going to visit the site of Operation Desert Storm.
No, we won't.
And is that generally restricted, or why is that? That seems to be a very interesting thing for us to do.
I understand. I will actually check the possibility. It's we may need an extra day for that if they ever allow. But most probably they won't. It's not because of the Operation Desert Storm, but it is the oil area. And so most of that area is restricted. They don't allow, just regular people to go in freely.
Yeah, but we're not regular people.
No, we're oil people.
Yeah,
Even
just,
more why they won't let us in.
we will check the possibility if ever,
How many people, Ilyas, required for this trip?
Yeah, minimum of 4. Hopefully we'll have 8, 10, 12 people. Now I have to tell this about the special meetings. The more people we have, the easier it is to arrange the meetings. So, if we have just, 4 or 5 people, 6 people, it is difficult to make the arrangements. If we have 10 or more, 10, 12 people, it is easier. So, that's just an information. I mean, you can't make people sign up, but this
Tell
is
all
how it
your
is.
friends.
Yes.
I know a lot of you have traveled with us before, so just spreading the word if you're going to the other travelers. Sometimes I get a call and say, so-and-so is going, so I'm going too. So that's very, it works very well.
I have a question.
Yes.
I heard we're gonna fly to Kuwait City. Is that part of the fee in the price in there, or we have to purchase on certain day that you will tell us we have to purchase that part of flying there?
Yes. Generally, what happens is when the price is announced by World Affairs Council, it doesn't include the flights. So the price is not there yet, but in a couple of days, the brochure will be there, but the pricing, it will take more than a week. In any case, when the price is announced on the website, it is just for the tour portion. It doesn't include airfare. So the airfare, the brochure will include the suggested flights. And over there will be the airfare given separately. Airfare as of the date the brochure was prepared. Airfare can change anytime, but that'll be on top of the tour cost.
So we'll be arranging our own airfare from Qatar to Kuwait City, or just paying for it
We can
separately?
arrange it. We can arrange it for you, or sometimes people have miles that they want to
Right.
use, or or they want to fly some other place. In that case, again, we can give various options, or you can arrange it on your own if you want to. Yeah, but just I will send you the suggested route and the fares, so you will know. And if you want to go that way, we can book that for you.
Well, I imagine
Of
we
course.
sort of have to arrive at the same time in Kuwait City from Qatar if we're going to be
Well,
touring again.
those flights, yes. Now, yeah, of course. If you want to arrive in Qatar on a different flight or earlier, that is possible. That's not a problem. If you want to spend extra time in Kuwait City and fly on a different airline or at a different time, that's also possible. That's fine. But the flight from Doha to Muscat and from Muscat to Kuwait City, everybody needs to be on the same flights.
Yeah.
And they are not Qatar Airways flights. There will be most probably local, Wing Air or some, Omani Air or some, local airline will provide, that flight, those 2 flights, and everybody needs to be on the same flights.
But those aren't included in the price, correct?
They are not included in the price. They will be given
Okay.
together with the as a part of the total airfare, but those flights need to be the same for everyone. Those 2.
How long is the flight? Like between
that's short.
Qatar?
Yeah,
They're
between
short, right?
of course, just 1 hour,
Oh.
15 minutes, 30 minutes at the most.
Nothing compared to the flight over.
No.
Probably not. All right. Does anybody have any more questions?
No, well, deadlines and stuff like that are way into next year, right? Because you're still
Yes.
sorting out. the
Well,
trip.
yes, there's still plenty
Yes.
of time. That's true.
Yeah.
There's still plenty of time. As Ilya said at the beginning, we're still working on getting the details and the pricing. I'm glad we have dates that we have.
Yeah, it's nice to have
That's present-
dates, especially
Yeah,
for
it's
the
nice
month
to
of
have dates
November.
to,
Yeah,
to present to you all tonight. So just keep an eye on the website, and I'll also probably get back to you with an email with applications and the itineraries when those come out.
okay.
And as always, if you have any questions, you can call me or Ilias. Ilias is the best to go to for flight information. He has all that information. Anything world affairs related, such as your application or anything like that, definitely give me a call or send me an email. And
One note regarding dress that was asked.
Mhm.
I think for the mosque, we may need to look into that because it is hair coverage for women and to make sure, that you're properly dressed going into the mosque. So just a recommendation that we look into that.
Definitely.
Ilias, adding on to this, would you recommend Qatar or Kuwait? Or somewhere else?
Heading on to, you mean
Yeah,
extending this trip?
extending the trip, yeah.
Well, to be honest, neither. Because you will see everything to be seen in these
Okay.
two countries. They are small places. I mean, there isn't anything more to see or do over there. So neither in Kuwait nor in Qatar, unless you want to spend some time on the beach, in a resort.
at a
So
spa.
yeah,
About
exactly.
Istanbul.
Yeah. Mhm, yeah.
About Istanbul, flying from Kuwait to Istanbul.
Oh yeah, that's good. Sure, you can do that.
We've
But again,
done it
then
before.
you'll have to fly on Turkish Airlines. I mean, if flying on Qatar via Doha, you need to fly via Doha, again. So, but again, those details, they can be arranged. That's not, they're not big issues.
No plans for a Yemen trip, huh?
Nothing soon.
Not to
No,
Yemen, not to Iraq, not to Iran.
unfortunately, no.
Do we
What about
need any?
Bahrain? Have any of y'all been to Bahrain?
Yeah, on the Saudi trip in
Yes,
1920.
yes, we were there. Yeah,
20.
exactly. We were there. Yeah.
Do we require any additional shots or vaccinations?
No,
No, okay.
none of these countries require any shots. But in general, for any trip, wherever you go, there are certain, just your regular shots, tetanus shot, what's that? Pneumonia shots, a bunch of other shots. Just, it's always
COVID
good
shots,
to be,
hepatitis shots.
hepatitis, exactly, hepatitis shots, and those are always, recommended for any place.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure.
Well, I'm going to say
Thank
good night.
Thank